Hey, you guys! I am back. My name is Melody McAllister. I'm coming to you live from the frozen place of Alaska. And today I have an amazing Educator Spotlight, my good friend, Kristen Nan. It's so wonderful to finally have you here. We've been trying to do this for like 2 months and things have just been happening like crazy. How are you doing? Tell everybody where you're coming from and just anything about your background.
Oh, thank you so much, Melody. I am so happy to be here. Thank you for having me. It's about time we were able to bring our spaces together, right?
Yes.
So I'm from the Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania area. Go Steelers. So we're like in that mist of like not so freezing cold. A few days ago we had snow, but today we have beautiful sunshine and mild weather and feeling like light and happy around here. So it's goodness. It's goodness. Let's see. It's hard to kind of believe that we're at the point that it's almost Thanksgiving. That's where my headspace is. Like, it's November, first 9 weeks is coming to an end at school, and all the things are like spiraling around us, right? But listen, we killed it, right? We didn't get through the first 9 weeks. Like, we like crushed it and did a lot of amazing things. So like, I'm super pumped to be where I'm at right now.
I'm so glad. I love your positivity, and we're going to talk about this in just a little bit. It's not from any sort of toxic place, and that's one of the best reasons that I love like talking with you. Period. Oh, we have a comment, and so Facebook user, I'm so sweet. Facebook user. And I love it. I'm a little bit jealous because it is very cold here. Okay. I'm not going to lie. Like, I have my coffee because I'm in my basement and it's cold. I have my sweater on. So I love it that things are looking a little bit sunny, because we know like the culture of our country right now isn't quite sunny, and you're in one of those places that it might not be. So it's great to have your wonderful, enthusiastic self on here. And I just want to say to you and to all the people who are gingers out there, happy National Weather Day.
I didn't even know that was a legit thing, but I am so pumped about it.
Yes, it is. And I love that you're saying, so we're coming live through a couple of Facebook communities, the Teacher Tech and Alice Keeler, the Edu Match, and my author space. And I just want to say thank you to everybody who's watching and also on Twitter. And something that you have been excited about this year, you're talking about killing it. You had a transition in the position in the pandemic. Oh my,
like, oh my gosh, did that just come out in one long?
I know, I just made it up. Tell me, what does a cyber facilitator do?
Oh, wow. So after 22 years in the classroom, literally, I can't even really wrap my head around where we're at with this new space, but it is super exciting because every single day is a new journey. It's the whole like building the plane while you're flying it kind of mentality. But a cyber instructor. So we are blessed with a curriculum that is already built that we then have brought into our space in the district. Back in the spring with remote learning going into the summer, we had many people within the community talking about what will they do if they want to keep their child at home full time. And with that, the only options were come to our hybrid program that we were going to be committed to, or possibly go to PA Cyber. And we were in the hundreds of children that were interested in the cyber program. And honestly, like, I have an administration that just nails it. Like, they hear you, and the community spoke and they built it. So we were in a position where we had 7 teachers that were being displaced due to the numbers shifting from kids leaving the hybrid program that was just coming to fruition and going into cyber. So they then opened up the positions for those of us to bid on. There were a couple different things, like you needed different certifications, how cool is that? Let me restate that. You needed different certifications like a Google certification, Apple certification. Like, this is where we're at in education. And this is what some of us were able to bring to the table with just that background experience of going after it in our downtime, in our summertime, like whatever time that looked like, that people were just going after these certifications. We were able to create this space where we had teachers that could provide this type of instruction. So we now have 7 cyber teachers. We started with 5 in the elementary, and then the numbers grew. We needed 7. And we take the curriculum that has been built based off the PA standards and out of a local district that supplies it, and we facilitate it. So each day I log in, I greet my kids, we use Microsoft Teams, and I let them know, like, hey, like, we're going to do this. We're crushing it today. I have a site that is built just for them. It's our cyber site. They log in there each day. They go to our class news. They see what's happening. If I'm offering something that day that I noticed they were struggling in the day before, or if somebody reached out to me, I'll just post, hey, let's jump in here. Like today, I noticed that they really needed to have some extra work with analogies. So we jumped in there today on analogies. But really, it's interesting because they reach out to me. They're so in control of their learning. It's really mind-blowing to me. It's kind of like I've gone from this PBL, UDL mindset to, oh my goodness, I have zero control. Like they are in control. They hit the button. They don't need me. They don't need me. Well, let me restate that.
Right.
I felt like they didn't need me. I felt like they really could get in there and make this program work for themselves, completely independent of me. But you know what? Relationships matter. You and I both know that. And it's through that relationship that they get pumped about getting in there, that they're crushing their work, and they're going into all these extras. Like I have this opportunity to connect them to Global Read Aloud and Global Maker Day. And, Jeff, he's going to come in next week. He's going to come in virtually and read to all our cyber kids and get all the kindness vibes going for, Global Kindness Day. Right? So it's like, it's just the most interesting thing because it's just placing me in a different space in their world and creating opportunity.
Yeah. I love that. And I completely agree about the relationships. They may be able, and that's why you call yourself a cyber facilitator, because you are facilitating it. And without that relationship as an educator and a teacher, that's what fuels it. I love it that you said that. It's amazing. And it just seems really cool that your district recognized that and allocated the resources to make it happen instead of just trying to make everything fit when it wasn't working. So
it really is wild. And, honestly, we had these teachers that were displaced, and with these positions that were built, we were able to keep all of our educators within the district. And that to me is everything. Nobody wants to see a colleague furloughed. And that could have been our situation. And it ended up being, we wrote a different story. We truly wrote a different story this year.
That's beautiful. Do you see this in other like schools around you or districts around you, or are you guys pretty much the only district that's doing it?
You know how I am with social media. I've connected with plenty of people like far away that are like making things like this happen. Locally, I would have to have that conversation. I'm meeting with my team tomorrow. I'm not so sure how much like within my county space that is happening. But there's definitely plenty within the Pittsburgh area. It's just, it really truly is unique. And I have to say, I have the most incredible team of teachers. It's almost like this risk-taking mindset of like innovation, like stepped up and was like, bring it. Because here's the thing, it's not about whether we want it. It's not about, whether we agree with it. This is not about an opinion. Like literally, this is what kids need right now. Like, this is what they need. We don't need to know why they need it. We don't need to know if they're home because they're concerned about an illness within their family, or, someone that is, likely to be exposed to it and have, repercussions beyond our imagination. Like it's not about that. It's just, this is what they need. And what they need was change. And we made this change happen. And who knows how long it's going to last. But right now, it's our now. And that's what we're doing.
And I think that, there's a lot of people in two different, maybe not just two different camps, but you hear loud voices, some saying that remote learning is just wonderful and amazing. They have found a niche in there. Their students have found a niche in there. And then others they're saying that this is just way too hard. It's just, and the expectations are unreal. And I really, just my observation, so I want you to tell me if it's incorrect, but it just seems like when we're trying to replicate physical face-to-face school remotely, that's where we get in trouble because it can't be taught the same way.
That's exactly it. I mean, I think that is what you nailed it, Melody. Like we cannot be trying to compare ourselves to what was or what is. Like it like what is over here or what it is over here. Like this is right now unique in your own space. Every district's different. You figure all their resources are different. So even those that are listening to my situation, that may not be even possible within their space. So we can't compare it. We have to live and breathe and build it within the space that we're in. And it really is like that connectivity is so incredibly important, and to never, ever, ever give up. You're going to have students that choose to stay in their own space. And that's a pretty cool thing too, when you think about it. If that child truly likes to get on, get it done, and get out, they're feeling respected in that same way of like, they don't have to sit there and like do the sit and get, they're doing and making things happen for themselves. They're feeling very empowered by that. And they go and they play and they do their thing. And yes, they're missing that collaboration key piece, because that is something that I'm working really hard on making happen right now. I want them, because you can't just make these relationships happen either between like other kids within other spaces. I have 3 different elementaries. Some of these kids have never met the other children because they come from 3 different entities. So bringing them together and just having little bits and pieces here and there without saying, hey, you have to come in here. Hey, you have to do this. Meet me at this time. You need to. It's none of that. It is literally an open door of opportunity. And they're little by little just coming in. And it really is just the most awesome experience to see it unfold. And our community, I feel for them, because it's a very real thing when you're working. We have a hybrid program in place right now in our district. And that hybrid program means that those children are home on other days of the week. For myself, I have high school age children that can find and manage their way through a day and be somewhat responsible enough to get it all done, right? But, families are trying to make ends meet. They're trying to find a way to get to work, and they're trying to find a way to help educate their kid. And like literally, who's going to watch over them during that time frame? So this all becomes seriously sticky in the big picture. But I will tell you one thing, and I actually just submitted a blog with Teach Better for this one, but talk about team teaching. It has changed the game. I have been doing team teaching for years, Melody, but now my team teachers, they're my students, they're siblings, parents, aunts, uncles, grandparents, neighbors. Like this is not me that's making this happen. This is a community event every single day. That's a pretty awesome experience.
That is awesome. It's kind of mind-blowing. And I want to say hey to Rochelle and Dawn for watching. Thank you for sharing. Oh my goodness, that is so cool. And I think that's why I love talking with you, because I feel the same way about building the community. And what you're saying is the community looks so much different than it did when we were face to face without a care in the world,
Right.
But we do need each other, and we need to be mindful of the stickiness of it all. So I love that you're talking about all of this, and I could probably continue to pick your brain about this, but I want to ask you, because one of the things that I admire about you, and we've talked about this, is that you seem to be in every space. You seem to have it all together, but I know you, and I know that you make time for your family. Like you literally stop and you make time for your families. I'm sorry, you can probably hear my kids crying in the background.
That was on cue, Melody. That was so on cue.
My little redhead, I can hear. So I know that I know a little bit about your story, but I just want to ask, because you are a leader and a lot of people are looking up to you, whether it's in your district or whether it's on social media. You have a great PLN. And I want to ask you, you're all in. You have a book, and we'll talk about that in a second. How can you be all in and still have boundaries to protect your peace and your family and your mind?
I don't know that there's a true answer to that, or an equation or what have you, because there are times that I feel like I'm coming up short. But here's the thing at the end of the day. God has blessed me with a beautiful, functioning family. We have so much to wake up to and look forward to every single day. Like right there says it all. Right. I'm either going to be present in that, or I'm going to miss out. And a very wise woman in my life, my grandmother, she said to me years and years ago when I lived with her, she said, would you ever wish you would have? And I said, what's that mean? What do you mean, Graham? I mean, I'm going to wish I would have done certain things. She said, Kristen, that's regret. Like, don't leave room for regret. So if there's one thing the pandemic brought out in my family was just this wealth of time and space. And it's not like it was all pretty. Trust me, Melody, like, we were going crazy and there were lots of moments and thoughts and, it was sticky and ugly and messy. But at the end of it, I gained back time with my teenage boys. Like, they were stuck with us. They were so used to like going and doing they were stuck with us. They were so used to doing other things that it just became a way of life. And was that the right way of life? Probably not. And all of a sudden, life just got a little bit smaller, but in many ways, so much bigger and richer than we had ever had it. And I was not going to lose hold of that. I have so many beautiful people in my world. I mean, Dawn and Rochelle and you and our whole Edumatch. There's so many people that I could I feel like I can't tick without them. But at the end of the day, I'm a human, and there's only so much space and so much time within a day. And I need to wake up and be present when my children are speaking to me. I can't always be on Voxer anymore within all my groups. I just can't. And it's hard not to apologize for that, because I used to just say, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I can't say that. I know, right? I know, right? Nothing like just tossing on stuff. I would apologize before I ever even started to engage. And there was something just very uncomfortable about that, because what was I really apologizing for? Like choosing to be in this space. But you know what? Here's the thing. It's about family. It's about me time. I need me time and my time. I do. It's necessary. It doesn't make me selfish. It makes me a better person. But I'm also present in all factors of my life. If I'm out to dinner with you, my phone is turned over. It's not going to be off. My family needs to reach me. But wherever I'm at, I am truly present. And everybody knows I'm a camping crazy lady. And so when I would retreat on the weekends or whatever day that was that it happened, I was gone. And when I drove into town, my phone would blow up like crazy, and sometimes I was so overwhelmed, like 100 and something messages behind in a text, 10,000 in my 4 o'clock faculty. Like, I didn't know what to do. But I try really hard to reach out and just tell people when I love them. I try to just be mindful of every moment I'm given. And that does require me to check out of one space to get to the next. It just does.
I love that. Check out, yes. To check out of one space to be in the next. I love that. And Rochelle says that you definitely inspire, and I agree with her so much. And so you work from home, correct?
I don't. No.
Oh
no.
Wow.
I mean, right? Isn't that crazy? No, but it's awesome though. My heart has been a little bit heavy, because even though I have this beautiful team, I have an amazing team of colleagues that I've worked with all these years that I feel like I just don't even get to see anymore. It's just not a choice. We work different hours in order to make it work well for the cyber system itself. So I'm there before, and then I leave before they leave. And it's like, we really just don't cross paths. I have a different lunchtime. And as much as like that does weigh on me at times, like I guess it makes me try to like find valued time in a different way instead of like taking it for granted. But yeah, I get up, get dressed each day, head into work, and my day starts at 7:45 and it ends at 3:10. And that's an interesting thing too, because I've never been home so early. So in 23 years, I have never entered my home and felt like I had this family time waiting for me. I felt like I was already in my evening. And so that has definitely been a bit of a bonus with this.
I love that. And when you get home, you are at home.
I am.
You're not.
I am.
Okay.
I don't even own a teacher bag anymore. I have a backpack because sometimes I need to be like a little bit more aware of like bringing my computer back and forth. I don't turn that computer on in the evening at all. Everyone has my cell phone number. I mean, that's the truth of it. I mean, they do. It's on my website, for Pete's sakes. If you need me, reach me, right? But it's a respect. I am a mom. I'm a wife, so people need me, they know how to reach me. But if they really don't and they know it can wait, they put it in an email. And guess what? If they put it in an email, they knew it could wait too. So I'll catch it the next day.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I love that. I love that. Thank you for sharing all that. And then I got to admit, when I just kind of knew of you, and I remember it, I'm just going to be completely transparent because you and I have talked about this, so I hope it's not going to be a surprise or anything. But I remember at Philly and at EST 19, I was so exhausted, and I was meeting with Dr. Sarah Thomas, and she's like, "Hey, I'm with Kristen Nan," and I'm like, she's like, "You should come over," and I was just like, you know what, like. I don't have the capacity right now to be like so happy and jolly. And because I know you're a happy, jolly person. And I didn't. I think it was at the end of the conference, and I was just really just weary at that point. And I totally, totally regret that. Yes, because I would have met you like in real life. We were in the same. I'm going to say we were in the same damn space, and that's my regret. I am such a jerk. It's my regret. And I had it wrong, Kristen. So I'm going to bring this up. Okay. I have this book. Your Son was the first story that I read in the Reignite the Flames by Mandy Freilich. And at the end of her book, she has student stories. And your son, Trent, he just turned 18. So happy birthday to him. Trent, that's a big milestone. His story blew my mind. Number one, I had no idea that you were facing any of that as a family. And number two, just the way that he was able to speak about that, like it made me cry, it made me feel all the feels because it's a real story. And, as wonderful, beautiful, and happy you are not without the pain of life and the challenges of life. And I just want to say that you have made it so that you can be with your family because you know how precious it is. And I just wanted to ask you to share a little bit about that if you don't mind.
You have me a little bit choked up, girl.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I know, it's like, it's that real. It's that real. And I love that you're that real because it's not that I put on a happy face. Like my husband has always said to me, like, it kills him that my cup is always half full. But that's why he married me, because I call him the fun sucker. Because I feel like he's just sucks the fun out of all my joy. Right?
So much in common. Yes.
So it is part of who I am. And I really just think that, like, I believe my character traits and who I am and how I see life was a true gift from God, because it helped me to persevere in ways that I never, like, no child should have to, or young adult, or even as an adult. Like, you feel like we shouldn't have to, but if we don't, somebody else is going to have to. So it's like, I feel like all of that positivity, it's there, and it's not, I have real days. I mean, earlier today, one of my good friends, she was just hearing, I was lighting her ears on fire because I was so frustrated over something, but I let those things go quickly. I do let them rule because I can't have them define me. And I really thought I was doing so much right, figuring out like the marriage thing and, getting married and then having sweet babies. And, I was never prepared for the day that my son was diagnosed with OCD. I just wasn't. Did I know? I mean, I have an emotional support background. I have a lot of experience with it. I saw all the signs, but you can have tendencies and live a very productive life and have tendencies. There's so many people with tendencies, but to have a true disorder, it's taking you away from everyday life. And I'll never forget the day that he couldn't get across my kitchen floor to get to school, and these are very defining moments. And I've had a major support system around me. This community has been gracious and forgiving, because trust me when I say, he has not had an easy walk. We as his parents haven't had an easy walk, but every single day that boy goes after it is a day of like victory and fabulousness. And he has grown into this beautiful young man who I'm sure messes up way more than I even know about. But the fact remains is that he walks out my door every day. He comes out of his bedroom, he walks on those steps, and he goes and he greets the world ready for it. A pandemic, this was his worst nightmare at the age of 8. Mm-hmm. This is what he dealt with for 7 days of therapy, talking about a pandemic. Like as his parents, we told him that was so unlikely. I can't even believe I ever used those words or said those words. It was almost like I lied, but it really was unlikely. But when in this lifetime did we ever think we would be in this space?
Right.
So here I am all these years later with this child who had to grow through some really ugly times. And a lot of my colleagues had to see that and be a part of it. And I thank God most of them have had grace on me for it. But honestly, like here we are going through a pandemic, and he is crushing it. He's crushing it. He's now this young adult. Like if there was ever going to be a time for it to come out in your life, because there's spans of time that it comes out. And if there was ever a span of time, I feel so grateful it was when he was a kid, because I gained all those years to influence him and get him the resources that he needed so that he can take it off into this lifetime and be the true being that like he was born to be. So with all of that in my upbringing, you put it all together and it's like, he wrote to be the teacher's kid. This was not easy for him.
Right.
Like other people say, oh, Mrs. Nan. And he was like,
right.
Mrs. Nan, like this was painful for him. So I learn from him every single day. I do. Every day. There's no doubt in my mind I'm a better person for being his mom, as well as my other son, Jax. I mean, I'm pretty blessed.
Yeah. And I think it's incredible. And I know that both of your sons are amazing and that you love them so very much. And please tell Trent that I really was moved by his story. And and it is just because we both love Mandy also, it's in Reignite the Flames. And I love that she included stories that young people wrote.
Yes.
And I mean, how can you not be proud of such a articulate young man? It's awesome. Who's grown.
Thank you so much.
And so we're getting closer to our time, but I want you and Dr. J.C. Maslett, you have this amazing book, and it actually usually sits right up there, but I pulled it down and I was reading through it. And here's what I want to say about this book, okay? So I'm reading through it, and I started reading for it when almost a year ago, so it's almost your first year birthday, or did it? Seriously.
Listen, I was in another interview today, and let me just tell you, I don't even remember the date. Is that terrible? I'm like, how do I not know these things? Because this is like me. I just like embrace life. Let's roll with it. And I I don't know the date, but I do remember when we were at the Hershey conference in December last year, the state conference. That was when we had our book launch. So it had to be it was December.
Yeah, it's coming up. It's coming up. And I remember too, because I was part of the Voxer group that you had, the Voxer book study, and we were in the house that we're in now, and we moved in December. So I knew it was coming up, and this was mailed to the house that we're in right now. And I want to say, because the teacher load is absolutely unreal right now, and the expectations for teachers, especially if they're not in a supportive environment, the expectations are just numbing. They're overwhelming. People are drowning. But when I was reading this, it's not about spending more money. It's not about spending more time after work. It's just really how to make relationships better and deeper. And it doesn't require, well, I'm sure it requires some money. I don't know, but there's a cost to it anyway. I'm not going to say that it's cheap or it's free, because that wouldn't describe it. It's just that you can still apply. And what I loved about were all the little anecdotal stories, the anti-ups from all the different educators that many of us love and learn from. And just those are the anecdotes that pump us up right now when we're feeling a little bit on the blue or feeling like we can't do this. It's about transparency. It's about embracing the things that we thought made us not as great, but they actually make us better than anything we could ever imagine. And so tell us any of your thoughts about All in Edu.
It's a journey. And that's what we're all on a journey right now. Every single one of us are on a journey. And we do need to be open and transparent. We do need to show our cards. This is not a time to hide. And I'll tell you what, this is not a time to walk away. This isn't a break time from education. You do need to be all in. You need to be immersed in all of this, because we're figuring this out together. It's sticky and it's messy, but we must be able to rely on one another. This is literally about that collaboration piece of going in, taking the risk of having those conversations that don't sound JC and I just had one yesterday, and they're not pretty, but they're not personal. Like, we have to stop putting like our own personal feelings aside when somebody starts talking like really tough things within education. It's not personal. It is business, and we need to be able to bring in all perspectives so that we can appreciate it. Because I can bring this one, she brings this one, and we both can stand there and go, oh, didn't think of that. Right? Then you bring in that community piece, you bring in that student piece. There are so many pieces of this puzzle, right? So in this, it's that relationship piece with everyone. It's not a you versus me thing. This is not about a hybrid teacher versus a cyber teacher or admin versus teacher. This is not about the community versus the district. We are all in this together. And you know, our job is to stabilize for children. We need to be the stabilizer. That's what we need to do. That is our role. And what does that really look like? We need to build each other up. Like, what are we doing breaking each other down? People have these huge opinions on what other people are doing, or questioning if they are being true to what their school day looks like. Like, this is not a time of judgment. Like, I don't know if there ever is a time for it. It's just that right now we must be all in this together. There's no separation factor. Talk about the choice of like silo. We used to choose silos. This is not a choice. We are in this. Now we have to figure it out together. We're not breaking this apart and breaking it down and saying you're over here and I'm over here. Like, this is the space we're in, because this is what children need. At the end of the day, the focus was never on us as educators. And the minute we put it and place it on us, we've lost complete focus on the big picture.
Okay. You might have to say just a little bit more about that.
Well,
that was a mic drop moment.
You know, because here's the thing. This is not about if I know how to do something. If I don't know how to do it and a child needs it, I need to make it happen. I need to figure it out. I need to be okay that when I'm in the middle of a Microsoft Teams chat with one of my students and I can't figure out the screen, it's okay to collaborate with the child. And we literally are like, okay, did you see that toggle? What if I do this? What will happen? I mean, this is us in the middle of our conversation. Nobody ever said an educator was supposed to know everything. Like, this has to go to rest. Like, right now, like, innovations become our stabilizer. Talk about relevance. Again, no choice in the matter, but we're here and we're using it. And what would we really do without this tech piece? This tech piece that everybody's been running away from forever. Like, hello, gratitude, bring it on. Like, this is, how can we not be all into that? So when I'm literally sharing space with that child, this is not about me hovering big as the teacher over them. This is about us learning together, taking this walk together, hand in hand, next to one another. They teach me all the time. And who cares if we have to stop and Google? For the love of Peter and Paul, at least we have it, right? I mean, we didn't even have computers when I was in college. Come on, Melody. I didn't even have an email address. I think they mailed it to me like a couple years later, and I didn't even have a computer to hook up to. Man, am I old?
You're saying, no, you are not old. You are not old. I love how you're saying that. And I totally agree with everything that you're saying. And it really is more about sharing space. I really hope that there are some school leaders that listen, or that are listening to you. And just for all the educators, because I really feel like we just need to reiterate, because sometimes just because we're like broadcasting, we don't necessarily have power, but we just need to remember that you can be all in, you can have boundaries, and you can still be an amazing teacher. Like, this all in doesn't mean that you're doing this 24/7 and not living your life outside of school or anything like that. But having people, like you said, to help you along the way, including your students, whether they're in elementary or secondary, it's all about us, the community that we're forming. And I hope that our leaders are listening, because that's the support that we all need. And I love you for saying it. And then the issues that are coming up that challenge us, they are just meant to challenge us, not to make us feel like we're terrible teachers. They're just here to say, this isn't working. What if we thought about it like this? Instead of taking it personally that, well, I don't do it, so I don't even want to give this the time of the day. because a lot of times we get stuck in that thinking just because we're in a bad place mentally anyway, you know, and we feel like we're overwhelmed with everything. So I do appreciate your thoughts so much. And on the ticker, we've already gone over our time, but that's okay. But on the ticker, if you want to get an autographed book of All In from both Kristen and Dr. JC Maslick, it's on the bottom, bit.ly/autographed copy of All In EDU. And definitely follow Kristen at Nan KR 1120. I feel like I know it by heart. Okay, great. I should, for crying out loud. And I love that you did this. I mean, I haven't read the entirety of it, but it's okay because I feel like you can still get a lot of it out. Like, you don't have to read it from front to back, but you're going to get, there's a lot.
I agree, because they're not chapters. That's the one thing. Like when JC and I talked about this, it was like, I said, JC, like I'm not the chapter kind of gal. Like these are like literally, they are bets. They are bets on education. This is about a journey that two individuals went through that took our guard down, took the label off, and then brought our interest and our experience to the conversation. And then these voices, these words of wisdom from so many amazing educators around the world that did the anti-ops. I mean, they're just fantastic. And it's invaluable. So they're in there and they're giving you their piece. And then there's the double downs. It is timeless. It is timeless to take these bets, because I'll tell you what, I'm already reframing those bets in my own mind. I've already blogged about reframing them. It's crazy, but it's so relevant. So I'm such a believer. I'm a believer that it's definitely a journey for every educator, every person. I really do believe.
And I love that you said that. So you're blogging and you do blog regularly. How can we follow your work? And if you want to drop your, and I can drop it in the comments. What is your blog?
It's KristenNan.com.
Yeah,
KristenNan.com. Yep. It is that easy. And literally Nan KR 1120 takes you everywhere, whether it's Twitter, Instagram. People say, like, what's the 1120 about? It's the way I remember my anniversary, people. Okay. I accidentally wrote it down wrong on the church bulletin thing years ago, and they started celebrating my anniversary on October 20th every year, and I didn't have the nerve to tell them I wrote down the wrong anniversary. So now that's part of my handle for everything. So if I miss it this month, people, please just send me a message.
I love knowing that. Happy it's coming up. So, and what year will this be for you? And your husband?
That's not part of the handle, Melody. No, 21 years. 21 years.
Great. Oh my goodness. Yeah. You guys are legal. Just kidding. That's great. Happy 21 years together. And we talked about this, you know, like I said, you're not living this perfect pie in the sky life. You have faced the challenges of being in a family and an educator. And so before we go, I just want to say that I appreciate you so much coming on here, being willing to be transparent and share what you've learned along the way, because I am not the only person that is inspired by you all the time. Oh. And it's because you're a human being and you're real. And also you have this positivity that is absolutely a 180 from anything toxic. And I appreciate that so much. And so I hope that you that are listening and watching this, whether it's live or whether it's the replay, thank you so much for viewing this with us. And I hope that you'll take a minute, follow Kristen on Twitter, and or look at her blog and just be inspired also. Everybody, thank you so much for joining in tonight. Kristen, before we go, is there any last words, anything burning on your mind that you want to share?
I think that we have shared it all. People are like, click, done. Thank you, Melody. You know how much I love you. This is just such a joy. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming.